Are we live? I didn't hear the ding. Where's the ding? Do you hear a ding?
Ding, ding.
Ding! Oh, I like that Rocky reference. What's up, motherfuckers, and welcome to the Wrestling Exchange. It's another exciting episode. We took last week off. Spoiler alert, I had a baby. Sorry. That's a thing. But I'm back, and we got all sorts of shit to talk about. We're going to talk about WWE Battleground 2015. We're not going to get in depth, right? We're not going to get balls deep. We're just going to quickly and briefly touch on it. And then we're going to talk about Raw, which I believe, Papo, if I'm not mistaken, was July 28th, July 27th?
July 27th.
July 27th. We're going to talk about, basically, if you're new here, right? Like, if you've never seen this before, basically what we do is we're two passionate wrestling fans, and we talk about Raw segment by segment. We talk about the matches, we talk about the promos, we talk about people making words at each other and getting each other's faces backstage and all sorts of bitches be crazy stuff. It's a lot of fun. So if you go to work, or if you go to school, or if you stay at home and masturbate all day, whatever, if you're interacting with people and you know that they watch wrestling and maybe you just don't have the time to devote 3 hours a week to Raw, we got you covered. Watch this shit right here, talk to them, and you'll know what's going on. Now, a couple of quick things. If you enjoy at any point what we're about to get into, if you enjoy my personality, his personality, you think we're cute, we're beautiful, whatever, if you want to have our babies, go ahead and click that like button. Really helps us out. While you're at it, don't be lazy. Move the cursor a little bit over, click the subscribe button, so that way you'll get an email each and every week when we put this episode up. Also, share. Go to your social networks, whether it's Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook. What are the kids using for social networks these days?
My face.
Honestly, I don't know if I'm out of touch, but I feel like that's a thing. Is that a thing?
Or
I'm being told that's not a thing.
face space.
Face space. Share on your social networks. Tell other people about this, and then maybe, who knows, we can look like professionals at some point and not amateur jerk-offs. Oh, yes. Email us your questions at tedandpapo@gmail.com. And speaking of social media, right? Channel. See what I'm doing? To the YouTube channel. This is what happens when you go live. So every time I post a video, a tweet goes out. And I'm going to be honest, outside of that, I really don't know how to use Twitter well. So why don't you go ahead and tweet us and show me what I'm doing wrong, at tedandpapo. Email us your questions at tedandpapo@gmail.com. So say, for example, you want to talk about your favorites. You want to ask us about our favorite, I don't know. What's the type of question that a viewer would send in, Papo?
What's your shoe size? Boxers or briefs? Choke slam or rock bottom? All right.
I like that one. But keep it topical, right? Keep it to wrestling, please. Now, as you've noticed, I've used a couple of bad words already. Basically, the Wrestling Exchange is for mature audience only. It's for adults. It's for people that sit at the big kids' table. So bad language, four-letter words, sexual innuendos, those are things that happen here. And if you're not down with that, my man's got some words for you. Maybe two, maybe one, who knows?
2 words for you. Wet labia.
Labia?
Labia.
Like labia? Like a lesbian labia?
All right.
All right. Papo, did I play the hits? Did I get
play
our
the hits?
Okay, we got our shit in?
My man's played the hits. He threw out all the disclaimers. He also did the work for you. In the comments below, if you need anything, it's all there. So, Ted, my man, I just wanted to welcome you to the club. That's the Fatherhood Club. And so let's get balls deep in tonight's show.
Boom. This is me, and this is my imaginary mic, and I just dropped it. Look at that shit. Which, by the way, I forgot to introduce my co-host. Ladies and gentlemen, he is the man, the myth, the legend, Papo. Tell the people how you're feeling, brother.
Oh, you didn't know? It is me, Papo, and I'm chilling on this internet wave with the T-E-double-D.
Papo, you ready to give these people a few moments and just quickly recap, brother? I almost called it brotherhood. See, this is what happens when you drink Four Loko and do a podcast live, webcast, YouTube thing, whatever the fuck it is. Also, you know what I forgot? Comment. you're going to see me get progressively more and more hammered throughout the video. So go ahead and insult me in the comment section down below. Papo, you ready to talk about Battleground quickly, do a little recap for the peoples, and then we'll roll right into our Raw review?
I think you should give him a quick snake style and just slither through that real quick.
Gonna make it rain results up in this bitch.
Up in this bitch.
So first up, Bray Wyatt defeats Roman Reigns via pinfall after Sister Abigail. With the Sister Abigail after outside interference by Luke Harper. You know what, Papo? I did want to take about 10 seconds and talk about this. The finish of this match, did you have a problem with it?
Yeah.
What if you could briefly, just in a few words, tell us what, because you and I didn't discuss our feelings about it. What issue did you take with the finish of this particular match?
Well, for the fact that I had an issue with this finish because there was no definitive end, and this is starting to go on into another feud, which actually, with Harper in the mix, it's actually gave it a new spice to it.
You know what I didn't like about it?
What did you like about it?
Do you remember WrestleMania? Was it 21 or 22 where they had the triple threat? Angle versus Orton versus Mysterio, where Mysterio won the world title. Was that 21 or 22?
I think it was 22.
All right. So something happened in that match that happened here, and it makes no fucking sense. Like, it makes sense from a goofy pro wrestling perspective, but it doesn't make sense outside of that, and I'll explain. So during that match, right, there's a spot where Randy Orton goes to grab a chair and tries to come in the ring with it. This is in the WrestleMania 22. And when he does it, it's to distract the referee. The reason why it's there is to distract the referee so we can see Rey Mysterio tap out to the ankle lock. But the ref doesn't see it, so it just goes right over his head, and then Rey wins. So we get to see that, like, yeah, Rey would have lost had that event not happened. Although it was there to make sure that we got to see that, it makes no sense. Because it just didn't fit. It just didn't work, and I believe that match was not a no DQ, if I'm not mistaken. It didn't make sense here because Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt are dueling it and duking back and forth on the outside, and Bray grabs a chair, and then somehow Bray gets a chair, and then the chair doesn't come into play, and then instead Roman Reigns throws chairs in the ring, and he only throws the chairs in the ring so the referee can turn around and pick up the chairs and throw them out for Luke Harper to jump in. It just seems stupid. Like, why would you throw in a chair? Like, if you want to win the match, win the match. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it gives the taste to a grudge match, not a wrestling match.
I don't know. Maybe if they kind of, I just didn't feel like it ever escalated to a grudge match. But that being said, that's the only problem I had with it. Randy Orton defeats Sheamus via pinfall with an RKO. No response? Should I keep it going?
Keep it going. It was a solid match, but keep it going.
All right. The Primetime Players retain their tag titles when Titus O'Neil defeats Big E with a pinfall after the Clash of the Titus. # millions of dollars. John Cena defeats Kevin Owens with a submission STF to retain his WWE United States Championship. Charlotte wins the triple threat match via submission when she locked in the figure 8 on Brie Bella. It's called the figure 8 because she does a back bridge, and it's twice as good as her daddy's. The main event, however, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, was ruled a no contest. This is because The Undertaker had returned and basically decimated Brock Lesnar with a kick in the balls, followed, I believe, by 2 chokeslams and then 2 tombstone piledrivers. This is what I want to take a moment right before we get into Raw. Papo, what did you, because there wasn't much of a match, right? But what did you think about the end, where The Undertaker just, the lights go down, lights come up, hey, there's The Undertaker?
Well, bong! I thought it was awesome how he came back, but then yet it left the belt in the ring, no winner was decided, and it just super segued into a feud with Lesnar and Undertaker.
It was very jarring that the bell never rang. Like, there was never, hey, ring the bell. It's disqualification. Uh, did it bother you that Undertaker kicked Brock Lesnar right in the fucking cojones?
That was hilarious. We
Was
popped here at Casa de Papo.
was that an Undertaker heel turn? What was that?
That, I don't give a fuck. It was awesome.
What did you think about the two tombstones? It seemed to me, and maybe I'm wrong, but it looked like Undertaker seemed to struggle a bit. Was that the case, or am I just reading into it?
You're probably reading into it because I mean, honestly, he didn't seem like he had any type of ring rust. But then, yet again, I could have missed something. But as far as I can tell, it looked pretty good.
Last two questions. Does this bother you that he attended WrestleMania 31, had a match, and then waited till now to address Brock Lesnar in the ring?
Yeah, it was too long in the coming. Too long.
Final question. Kane had been leading up to the match. He was telling Seth Rollins that he had a plan. Right? Don't worry, I have a plan. And Rollins said, if your plan doesn't work, you're fucked. The Undertaker returning. Was this part of Kane's plan?
I would make a safe assumption and say yes.
All right. I'll tell you what. I'm going to make a safe assumption and say that Battleground was pretty good. And I think we ought to not waste any more time and talk about WWE Monday Night RAW. What do you say?
Let's get balls deep into this bitch.
Balls deep, busting all kinds of nuts. Okay. So at the top of the show, we get the obligatory in-ring segment where people talk. Somebody makes words. Somebody else makes words. Somebody else makes words. Decisions are made, and here goes the show. But it was a little bit different than that, although it kind of followed the same formula because, well, you know what? Let me tell you what happened, and then we'll talk about it. So Triple H, Seth Rollins, and Stephanie McMahon come to the ring, and they announce that for the first time ever, SummerSlam will be a 4-hour event on the WWE Network, featuring Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker as the main event. They also mentioned that on Raw, for the first time ever, it will be Big Show versus Dean Ambrose in singles competition, Paige versus Sasha Banks, Kevin Owens will face off against Randy Orton, Alicia Fox and Nikki Bella versus Becky Lynch and Charlotte. Also, Seth Rollins and John Cena proceed to, you know what? Before we get into that, let's adjust up to everything up until that point. So, what do you think about the prospect of SummerSlam being a 4-hour event, as they were relating it to WrestleMania?
Well, I could see a pay-per-view being a 4-hour event. I mean, past WrestleManias have been over 4-hour events. So, I mean, and Raw's 3 hours. So,
is that a smart move considering Raws have a tendency to run over 3 hours and the last pay-per-view or a special event, whatever they want to call it, Battleground, ended at least 15 minutes early? Is that problematic?
Or their way to make up time.
Okay, so it'd be easier just to give everybody longer matches. So that way the long matches happen at the pay-per-view and everything else will just be one and done on Raw. All right, I can dig that. So for the first time ever, Big Show versus blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. So the fact that they announced a list of matches that are first time evers, that's kind of the theme here in this beginning intro. I got excited for this. Should it be from now on that they just list out what's going to happen as opposed to just talk, somebody else talks, there's more talking, decision is made and is done? Should they just come out and just let you know, hey, like if you're tuning in, like if you're flipping through channels and you're like, oh shit, Raw's on, let me see what's going to happen. And they just tell you, hey, this is the shit that's going to happen this episode, right? And they may not tell you everything, but they're going to hit the main bullet points, right? Like these 5 or 6 things are going to happen. I know I feel this way, but does it feel to you that the show benefited from that?
Yes, it did, because then you can actually manage your time a little bit better. I mean, because again, prior to the Divas Revolution, if they would have told me that in the third segment we're gonna have the Divas match, I would have totally been on Candy Crush the whole time. So it'll give you an idea on the tail of the tape.
So then let's kind of talk about what happened at the end of this segment, and then we'll get into the first actual match. So Seth Rollins and John Cena, they start making words at each other. Cena calls Rollins an arrogant jackass and a joke, and this results in Cena ultimately asking for a WWE World Heavyweight Championship match later on in the show. Steph denies Cena his request after making like she was going to. She basically did that line from Pirates of the Caribbean, right? Where Keira Knightley is like, "Hiya, parlay," and Barbossa's like, "I'm inclined to." Oh, shit, how does it go? I'm inclined to acquiesce to your, not to acquiesce to your request. And she's like, huh? And he's like, it means.
Matey, you need to keep the ball rolling.
But the point is that she made us all think, we bought a hook, line, and sinker, that maybe we're going to see that match, and then we didn't, right? And then she's like, no, fuck you, John Cena, you don't get that match. And Triple H says, but since it is a night of firsts, why don't we have John Cena for the first time ever defend his U.S. title against Rollins on Raw? And that actually ended up being the main event. So, Papa, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to transition into the first match on the card. And this was Dean Ambrose versus Big Show with Miz on commentary. First, quickly, tell us your thoughts on Miz on commentary for this particular match and his obnoxious red-soled dress shoes that he wore no socks with.
Well, honestly, with past Raws with Miz on commentary, he was on point with everything. For this Raw, I mean, he fell a bit short. I was more enthralled with the actual match, and this being Big Show of all people, I'm enthralled with the match more than the commentary. With Big Show,
and I'm glad that you said that because I felt the same way. Right, like I was surprisingly into this match. I think it's safe to say that that's because of the inclusion of Dean Ambrose, right? Because we haven't seen these two on singles competition to my knowledge. Maybe on SmackDown, but I don't remember. I don't really watch SmackDown. There were a lot of interesting things that Ambrose did. Like at one point, I think Ambrose like untied Big Show's boot, right?
Yeah, for some odd reason.
Like it was really bizarre.
He was just sitting there untying his boot. I mean, he was upside down or something. That shit was funny as hell. What is he doing?
It was great, right? Because everybody always attacks Big Show the same way, right? But everything that Ambrose seemed to do here had a lot to do with just playing to that, unorthodox style, that unconventional offense. And they do this. They repeat the spot where basically Big Show kicks his ass, throws him out of the ring, and Ambrose is barely able to make it in time for the 10 count twice. And then it happens a third time where Big Show actually counters a suicide dive by Ambrose with a KO punch and then just leaves Ambrose on the floor. And Ambrose is just not able to make it in by the count of 10, and Big Show wins by countout. After the match, though, Big Show goes to spear Ambrose through the barricade, and Ambrose basically sidesteps Big Show, and the Giant spears himself through the barricade. So you and I were very impressed with this match. Something different, something fresh we talk about, that's always a good thing. Fresh is always good. Different is always good. Is it good that Dean Ambrose now has something to do, even if it is involving the Big Show?
Yeah, I mean, right now he's still one of those untapped talents that doesn't get that push that he deserves. But I see him.
Heath Slater. You're
Slater.
talking about Heath Slater, yeah, one of those untapped talents that they don't do anything with that deserves a push. He's the one-man bam, baby!
Yeah, let's get back to the lunatic on Fringe, Dean Ambrose. So I foresee him teaming up, backing up Roman Reigns against the Wyatts. So they got something to do now. So,
do you want to talk about Fandango versus Neville?
Let's just give the people just a quick taste.
The first squash match of the Altitude era.
Touche, I like that.
Oh, shit. Surprise, Neville wins with a red arrow. After the and I love me some Fandango, but I feel like he's just being used as a jobber, and that makes me sad. So after the match, Stardust appears on the Tron while Neville is celebrating his victory, and basically cuts a standard supervillain kind of promo on Neville, and then he promises to save the WWE Universe from Neville and all its heroes. Backstage, we can see Paige speaking with Charlotte and Becky Lynch about the about the quote-unquote Divas Revolution, and then Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Tamina interrupt. By the way, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Tamina Snuka They call themselves bad, beautiful, and dangerous. Is that too corny a name?
It is obnoxiously corny.
So Tamina and Naomi, right? They've been buddies now for a couple of months. The addition of Sasha Banks, is it just me or does that make it seem a little bit more well-rounded?
Well, it adds that flair. I mean, they're all women of color, and technically, all three of them are just badasses. Period. And they all got nice asses.
Oh my God. I mean, Tamina's, but yeah, no, fucking no lie. Sasha Banks and Naomi got nice asses. It seems to me like Sasha Banks was a missing piece of that puzzle, right? Because I really like heel Naomi. I think Tamina is good in her role as like the big heater, right? She's like the female Diesel to Shawn Michaels. Um, but I feel like Sasha kind of rounds it out. So we got Paige accompanied by Becky Lynch and Charlotte versus Sasha Banks accompanied by Naomi and Tamina Snuka. Uh, what did you think about this match?
I mean, given past Divas matches, they have, with the NXT edition, they have definitely stepped it up. I'm like, wow.
Can I tell you a
So
secret?
go ahead.
Sasha Banks is my
You wear
favorite.
women's panties.
That's not a secret. Sasha Banks is my favorite lady wrestler. Like it's not even a joke. I love her music. I love her ring gear. It's very, very different, and it's a plus that she just happens to be the Snoop Dogg's real cousin. But she's fucking awesome, and yeah, she's awesome. And I really don't have much more to say about that, other than Sasha wins with the bank statement. What do you think about that move as a finish? That kind of code breaker or backstabber followed up by that kind of like arcing back, real heavy rear chin lock.
I love how she flows with it. She makes it look effortless. So big ups to Banks.
Speaking of effortless, I think we need to talk about Rusev and how he is so effortlessly great with Hot Summer. Are you ready for the segment?
Go ahead, bring it on.
Okay, so it's on record that I love Rusev. I think he's not the most underrated talent in WWE because that's clearly Heath Slater, but goddamn, Rusev is so fucking good, right?
So Ted, tell me this: would you say that you and Rusev have a bromance?
Dude, I wish we had a bromance. He can whisper sweet Bulgarian nothings in my ear.
Machka!
Right? He can be like, Rusev Machka. And then, I just jizz in my pants. They're like, oh, Rusev crush. Rusev Pudra.
Hot Summer!
Yeah, we can talk about that. So, by the way, and I really love how it is, right, I mean, I know where you're located on the Isle of Samoa and here in parts unknown. It's definitely a hot fucking summer. I love the fact that he only refers to summer as hot summer while we're having a hot summer. It's like multiple double entendres.
Humidity sucks.
So there's an in-ring segment promo thing, and Rusev tells a hot summer that he is smitten for her, and he's basically goes on to reward her for being obedient, right? Because a man should protect his woman, and a woman should be obedient to her man. And he gives her a puppy and appropriately names it because it pisses itself and it's small and pathetic, Dog Ziggler. What do you think about that name for a puppy?
Well, it was an awesome play on words, and it was very comedic, but very cheesy at the same time.
Now, I thought that was good, but this next one takes the cake in my opinion. It may be my good in the good, the bad, and the fugly segment later on in the show. Russo also gives Hot Summer a box with a cold fish in it, and he says we should name this cold fish for someone. He basically says he infers that sexually Lana is a cold fish in bed, and he says we should call the cold fish Lana. Lana then comes out and calls Rusev pathetic. Then she rubs Summer's face in the fish, slaps the shit out of Rusev singular, excuse me, not plural, and then leaves. I gotta be honest, I loved every minute of this segment, and I'm kind of disappointed because I don't think we're gonna get to see a Summer versus Lana blow-off. We're not gonna get a bra and panties match here.
Boo.
Well, what did you think about this segment? Right, I know you're not the world's biggest Rusev fan, but tell me what you thought about this whole thing from top to bottom.
Well, the segment was awesome. I mean, again, it was very funny, comedic. And the choice of words, the play on words was cheesy, but then yet funny at the same time. And dude, I'm gonna be so disappointed if we don't get a bra and panties match with Lana and Summer.
Right. So I want to talk about. Do you have anything else you want to say about that segment, or do you want to? Can we move on to the next match?
Let's go on to the next match. Millions of dollars.
Hashtag millions of dollars. Before we do that, a couple of quick plugs. If you've made it this far and you've dealt with my drunken ramblings, you're amazing, and I love you. And call me maybe. No, seriously. Thank you. You're incredible and you're awesome. And you know what you should do? That only takes a moment of your time. I'm not going to ask you for money. Right? I'm not going to say, hey, give me some money, because I know that the economy's in the shitter. Right? I know money is tight. So instead of maybe throwing a few ducats our way, maybe you just click the like button. Maybe you click the subscribe button. Maybe you comment. Maybe you share the video. Maybe you go to the Facebook page. Maybe you send an email. Maybe you tweet us and explain to me how Twitter works and what the hell hashtags are. Maybe you do all these things, and maybe, just maybe, I already did the fucking work for you, because you can go to all the links in the description box below. Now, I know that I started off this little plug saying, if you don't want to give us money, but I'm going to be honest. I would like your money.
Yeah!
Not for myself personally, right? I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to buy baby formula or diapers. I'm not going to make you feel guilty because I'm a new dad. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to buy Four Loko either. But if you contribute, well, no, I'm going to buy Four Loko, but I wouldn't buy any Four Loko with your money that you donate. But if you're interested in contributing, here's what I'm talking about. I got this sweet ass microphone. Okay, I got this cool stand for the microphone, but it uses something called phantom power, and I know that sounds like something straight out of a comic book, but my friend assures me that it's a real thing in the audio interface world. Here's the problem. I don't have a mixer. I'd like one. It would make everything so much better, because then we can incorporate sound effects. It can look a little bit professional, and you know what? I'd like a better camera. I'd like Papo to get a... Papo, are you working with like a webcam that's attached to your computer, or is that like an external guy?
I'm on an iPad.
You're on an iPad. Papo and I would like to get better equipment. And I'm not saying that you should give us your money, right? Because Papo and I have jobs. But again, like I said earlier, money is tight. But if you are interested, if you want to give, say, $1, right? Like let's say we do these episodes about 4 weeks a month, 4.5 weeks a month, whatever the average is, weeks per month, and you want to just give $1, right? Consistently every month, that's cool, because eventually, at some point, 200 episodes from now, we'll be able to purchase these things. And if not, that's cool too, right? Like it's not a requirement, you don't have to do it, but if you can, that's great. And then like, comment, subscribe, share, tell your friends, go to the Facebook page, tweet us, send us your questions. Now, Papo, now that I'm done begging the people for money and for their interactions, do you want to talk about Lucha Dragons versus the Los Matadors with El Torito?
Sure, why not?
Or do you want to talk about the primetime players on commentary?
Let's talk about the primetime players on commentary.
Okay, so that was the match with the primetime players on commentary, and Titus O'Neil said that he was backed by popular demand, and that him and JBL had made up. And once again, Titus O'Neil is incredible on commentary. And Darren Young wasn't that bad either, and they kind of had this bit where Darren Young had like pre-planned things to say, and then whenever it was time, like Titus O'Neil would be like, "Come on, Darren, tell him." Do you remember what he had Darren say, or no?
Honestly, I don't remember anything that Darren said.
It was like the same two sentences over and over again. But it was great, right? It was super fun, and I don't think that Titus O'Neil is the greatest wrestler, right? I want to make that very clear. But wrestling is a weird thing where it's as just as much as it is driven by athleticism and the ability to have a compelling or have a compelling story in a wrestling match. It's also about characters, right? It's also about larger than life beings. The Ultimate Warrior didn't have great matches, but that's not why we wanted to see the Ultimate Warrior. We wanted to see the Ultimate Warrior because he was straight out of a fucking comic book and he had face paint and it was cool. And he did that thing at WrestleMania 7 where he was talking to his hands and he didn't know whether or not to defeat the Macho King. All of these awesome things he did, not because he was a great wrestler, but because he was great at being a character, great at being larger than life. And Titus O'Neil was very good at that. I would say, Papo, he missed his calling. Titus O'Neil should be a commentator.
No. He should just have more mic time.
You don't think that they should...
Right now his in-ring skills are on point. His in-ring skills are on point.
Oh no, I don't mean that he's bad. He's just not great, right? Like he's not on the level that so many other guys are on right now. Like we're living in an era where everybody's like working on really high levels. Whereas like maybe 10 years ago, not everybody was on such a high level, and you had like a handful of guys like that. And so they stood out. Now we have like the inverse, where the vast majority of the roster are really, really fucking good in the ring, and there's only a handful of guys that aren't as good, Brie Bella, and they kind of are exposed by contrast. So I'm just saying that he's awesome, and he's a better talker.
He does have a future as in commentary for the WWE, definitely.
He even asked a question that you and I have asked. That he was asking where the hell we get Puerto Rican bullfighters. I gotta be honest, man, I popped for that. That was incredible because I'm pretty sure you and I have discussed that on this show before.
Yes, we have. And doing the research, there are Puerto Rican bullfighters.
Really?
It died out back in like the 1930s.
See, like JBL said that, and I don't expect JBL to be that smart, right? Like I expect him to be like a money guy. So when he talks about the reasons why private companies go public is because they want to access, what do they call it? Oh shit, I used to know the phrase. That's how I pretend like I know things. I listen to smarter people than me talk about it. Access to debt revenue or whatever. But surprisingly, he does know his history because that's pretty fucking awesome. I'm going to say the primetime players, should they sit in on commentary for every tag team match from now on? Just as a general rule.
You know what? I wouldn't mind it at all. I say fuck yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of fuck yeah, the New Day come out and they egg on primetime players, and there's a sign over Kofi Kingston's head that it says like something like "Real Mega Dad of the Year," and I didn't quite understand the finish because it seemed like a distraction finish, but I don't know why they'd be distracting the guys in the ring because they're not involved in the particular feud. And Lucha Dragons win. I believe Kalisto gets one of the Primo or Epico with a roll-up, right?
Right.
Do you have any other thoughts about that, or do you want to go ahead and talk about the Prodigal Son Returns, the rededication ceremony of Luke Harper?
Jude, you laid down at me after the roll-up.
Oh, is there anything else you wanted to add, or do you want to talk about the Prodigal Son returning and the rededication ceremony of Luke Harper?
Let's step into that bit right now.
All right, so I'm going to basically break down what happens here. And basically what happens is you have Luke Harper and Bray Wyatt standing in the ring. And Bray Wyatt starts to cut a promo about family, right? And he says a lot of things, and he talks about freedom and how freedom comes with a heavy price. And then he basically relates Harper to a childhood pet that he had once set free. And the reason why he set it free was to satisfy its curiosity. And eventually his pet returned to him with a new scar, indicating that he experienced the danger of the outside world. It's then that Luke Harper speaks of finding purpose and truth in Wyatt's teachings. Luke then pledges his life for Bray, and the Eater of Worlds takes this opportunity to speak to Roman Reigns and warns him to be very wary of his brother, Dean Ambrose. What were your thoughts on this segment?
It had this whole preachy feel to it, but yet when Wyatt went into the story about his pet, the scar, real world issues, I got sucked in. I just couldn't stop watching.
Is it because it felt the story that he told? Is it because it felt like real?
Yes.
Does Bray Wyatt need more of that?
Yes. Because sometimes you go off in a ramble and you turn to yourself and you're like, what the fuck did you just say?
Bray Wyatt's presentation, as it is now, and with his interaction with the crowd, which, by the way, that Oklahoma was an awesome crowd this week. Is he an effective cult leader in his presentation?
Yes, he is.
All right. And where the fuck is Eric Rowan? He's injured, but like, did you say having a Whopper?
Yeah.
He needs to go on a diet. Maybe he's having a Whopper Jr. Oh, you know what? By the way, Papo, did you want to talk about the retirement of Layla? Because they sent me a notification just a few minutes ago. Do you want to talk about that, or do you want to just basically mention that it happened and keep moving?
Well, in order to retire, one must have a career. I don't see how she could ever retire.
That's
all
harsh.
I got to say about that.
Well, Layla, I'm going to miss you on my WWE television, although you weren't there much in the past couple of months, and I am not going to miss fantasizing about you because I can watch all of your escapades in perpetuity, forever, ad nauseum, on the WWE Network for only $9.99. Charlotte and Becky Lynch. It's a tag team match. They're accompanied by Paige versus Nikki Bella and Alicia Fox, accompanied by Brie Bella. I have a couple of interesting things I want to say here about. But before we talk about what I want to say, tell me what you thought about this match.
Well, the match, first time we've seen Nikki in the ring since how long now? She's been pushing everybody else in the ring in her place?
I'm going to say at least a month. Or maybe closer to 3 weeks. You're talking in ring as in actually wrestling, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm going to say 3 weeks to a month.
Okay, so we have this. They mix it up with the NXT Divas and the WWE Divas. We're just going to call them Divas from now on. And this revolution is going off. And let me tell you, surprisingly, they all looked pretty well in the ring. There was maybe 2 or 3 missed spots where the one that sticks out the most is where Alicia Fox gets a face smash by Charlotte. But other than that, it was decent. They put on a decent match.
Yeah, man, I'm going to say it was pretty good. So here's what I thought, right? Right away I noticed that Nikki Bella and Alicia Fox were wrestling and not Brie Bella. And I'm going to take a moment to explain to you my rationale here. Ideally, right, and this is my opinion, you wouldn't have Nikki Bella's the champ, right? And she's is it safe to say that she is the leader of her particular faction? She's the leader of Team Bella?
It's safe to say.
So then, if she's the leader, wouldn't it make more sense for her to sit this match out and have Alicia Fox and Brie Bella do the heavy lifting?
That's what I was expecting.
I'm glad you came to the same conclusion I am. I think they didn't do that because the last time Brie was in a match was I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Battleground where they had the ladies three-way. And for the record, I'm not saying Brie Bella is bad. Okay. Eva Marie is bad, right? Summer Rae is bad, right? Brie is not bad. She is just not great. But what happened is that she's in that match with Sasha and Charlotte. Sasha, who's been wrestling for, I believe she's been wrestling for 5 or 6 years, and she's really, really good, right? She's a natural. And then you have Charlotte, who is just a freak of nature, and she has Ric Flair's genetics, and, that's a thing. And she's only been wrestling for 2 years, and she's going to be a big, big star. But when they had that match, Brie kind of got, like, de facto exposed for not being as good as them. Did you notice that?
Pretty much.
So I think that this was their way of admitting that Brie is not on their level. Again, not bad, but not quite on these NXT Divas level. In the end, Becky picks up the win when Alicia Fox taps out to a gruesome-looking armbar. What do you think about this finish?
It was a solid finish. That armbar is devastating. Banks,
What do you?
that's not Banks, right? That's
It's Becky Lynch.
Lynch. That is a solid submission hold, and it's authentic too. So, selling it or not, it hurts.
What do you think about the awful name that Michael Cole referred to it as being called the quote-unquote the Disarmer?
It's kind of cheesy.
Kind of awful, right? Right?
Kind of awful. Kind of cheesy. Awful.
Okay.
Awfully cheesy.
So the next thing that happens is WWE announces that there's going to be an NXT Q&A panel for SummerSlam attendees. What I took away from this, Papo, is that I'm kind of curious as to why they're not airing it live on the network. Right? I feel like they might not understand. They might still be coming to grips with what they have in the network, right? Because if I'm the WWE, I'm going to air that live on the network, and I'm going to take questions tweeted in by viewers at home, right, to be inclusive and to kind of add more content to the network. Why are they not doing this?
Dude, I wish I knew.
Vince.
I mean, right now you're talking money, and they're half-assing it. So.
See this here? Call me, bro. Call me. I'm just saying.
Call him.
Call this man. So right before we get into the main event, excuse me, no, not the main event. I'm wrong. Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Sheamus joins the commentary team. Let's talk about this match. We don't have a whole lot of time left in the broadcast, but tell me, what did you think about the first ever meeting of Orton and Owens?
Well, the first ever is the theme that they're going with this Raw. And let me tell you, I was extremely excited to see these two go at it. During the whole match, I did notice a pattern with these two guys because they both play the heel role to the T.
Are you going to like go in and explain that pattern?
Can I please?
All right. Jeez. I'm just trying to say. Just want to make sure that you're getting it. True.
Okay. Listen.
Escúchame.
No, you listen to me.
Okay.
Your Samoan sucks.
Sorry. I gotta get back on my Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone did. Well, in classic heel fashion, if you notice a pattern where the heel will have a methodical pace to his movement, where he's not rushed, but he's high impact. And it was going back and forth with these two. You don't see nothing too dynamic, like the cannonball. You didn't see the DDT from the ropes from Randy Orton, but you did see them picking each other off slowly but surely. It was a heel-on-heel match that I would say would be close to match of the year if it wasn't interrupted by Sheamus.
We're going to get to that in just a second. Question, though, right? So Randy Orton's a good guy, right? He's a babyface. I'm glad that you noticed that because I seem to think the same way. He still wrestles like a heel, right? Except all he does now is he panders. The only difference between Randy Orton heel and Randy Orton face in 2015 is that Randy Orton face just like panders to the crowd.
Correct.
So, as you mentioned, Sheamus comes in, and the end of the match happens like this. So Randy Orton reverses an Irish whip attempt by Owens into the barrier. So Owens goes into the barrier, and Orton is hit by Sheamus with a brogue kick. Now this, of course, allows Randy Orton to win by disqualification. After the match, though, Sheamus throws Orton into the ring, and before he can actually accomplish anything, Cesaro runs out and hits Sheamus with a flurry of European uppercuts, and then dives over the rope onto Owens. And then after Sheamus distracts Cesaro, Owen lays him out with a pop-up powerbomb. So my prediction here, seeing what happened, is that either the main event of SmackDown, which I don't know, I haven't yet watched it, or next week's Raw will either be a tag match, Sheamus and Owens versus Cesaro and Orton, or oh no, that was it. Never mind. Do you think they're building to a tag match, or I'm just reading into things?
You're reading into things. I don't see it.
So, speaking of reading into things, Renee Young interviews John Cena about his upcoming match where he defends the U.S. title in the main event against the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Seth Rollins, and then we get the actual match. So it's John Cena versus Seth Rollins. It's not, I guess it's not officially part of the U.S. Open Challenge because it's a mandated match. Without going into spoilers, what did you think about the match up until that one major thing that happens?
Well, in the past, we've seen John Cena and Seth Rollins put on an awesome match. They did not disappoint did not disappoint at all. These two have that chemistry. We've discussed this prior shows, and they, again, prove that they have excellent chemistry in the ring together.
Absolutely. I think without a doubt. So when I mentioned that big thing that happened, Seth Rollins broke John Cena's nose, and it was fucking gruesome, right? Like, it looked like John Cena's nose got pushed way to the left. It seemed to be that there was like a jumping knee or like a springboard. It was a knee at one point. I forget because there was a number of knees thrown here, but what
it was in the middle of the ring.
Was it in the middle? Because he knees John Cena in the face, and Cena goes down, and you see Cena roll to the apron by the steps towards the base of the ramp, and you just see just like a steady stream of blood just trickling out his nose. Gruesome or what?
It was gruesome, and let me tell you, it got the crowd popping for real.
Can I tell you something? I felt like it lit a fire under Cena's ass, at least as far as the presentation of what happened afterwards.
A fire under his ass? Seth Rollins stuck a piece of dynamite in his anus.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about here is, and I'll keep it brief because right after this we're going to go into our favorite segment, which is the good, the bad, and the fugly. So blood is kind of like a no-go in 2015 in WWE, right? It's just we don't do blood anymore, right? Like nobody blades. No juicing, right? If somebody blades, it happens. It's really not preferred, and they try to stop it. For the longest time, I didn't like the stoppage of blood, right? But I got to thinking, if you're watching wrestling, typically over the last couple of decades, right, blood's been a thing, right? But if you watch a professional fight, whether it's boxing, whether it's UFC, excuse me, anytime someone gets busted open, anytime someone starts to bleed, they'll kind of do a temporary stop, and it's usually like a ring physician that will come in either with some liquid stitches or like a styptic pencil, and tries to close up the wound so that way the competition can continue. Is it just taking us longer to accept that this is just the way that things are, being that it's kind of a fight feel that it has to stop? Are we finally getting to recognize that this is the way it's just going to be, and that's that, because hepatitis and AIDS are things?
Yeah, that is a very safe assumption on that, especially how diseases are running rampant, and I think it's a wise part to have a physician near the ring just in case for that situation to happen.
Right. I mean, does it not feel like a fight? Like if you're watching like boxing or UFC or like MMA,
Oh,
and like they'll come in and stop the blood, right? Like in that context, it totally makes sense. It's just wrestling is ass backwards, right?
right.
Um, Seth Rollins taps out in the STF to John Cena. Uh, is it acceptable for the world champion to tap out to a mid card champion in the main event of a TV show?
Yes and no.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Gladly.
Okay.
Well, so for the world champion, he shouldn't have been able to tap out. He shouldn't have tapped out to a mid-carder just to save prestige on that belt. Now, given the fact that Cena has held that belt before, it's understandable. And also understandable that Rollins has lost to John Cena before.
And that he doesn't really lose anything in tapping, right? Like it's
No.
not Rollins' title that's up for grabs. So if he taps, that's okay because he still has his title.
Right.
Overall,
So,
what did you
on the
think
other
about? I'm sorry,
aspect,
go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, there was another half to what you're saying. I'm just getting greedy. Go on.
given the fact that it's a title match for the U.S. heavyweight belt, you already said that he has nothing to lose. So even if he were to tap out, he still retains his belt. But that also puts John Cena in the number one contender spot.
Thank you. I'm glad that you went there. Right. So, are we going to see John Cena versus Seth? Because it seems to be that's where they're going. John Cena versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
I see that.
Is this going to be what was it? WrestleMania 6? Hogan versus Warrior, IC title versus World Heavyweight title.
Yes, I remember it vividly.
Are they going to put up both titles, or do you think it's just going to be Seth's title, or do you think there's just not going to be a title involved and it's just going to be a non-title match?
I'm gonna up you one.
Do it, please.
Unifying the belts.
Oh. All right.
Because think about this.
I'll
Seth
buy
Rollins
it.
has not had a clean match in how long? But then yet we have John Cena doing the open challenge for months now. That would give that World Heavyweight title so much prestige, it's not even funny.
That's an interesting thought. I really hadn't considered that. Would you rather them merge that with the world title or merge the U.S. title with the IC title?
Merge the U.S. title with the heavyweight title.
That's interesting. I'm kind of drunk, and I'm going to have to think on that because I hadn't really I thought of it the other way, of merging the two mid-card titles together, and then you have like a unified Intercontinental title. So all in all, though, that match was pretty good, right? I mean, as far as everything shaping up, SummerSlam looks to be a hell of a card.
Yes, it does. I'm actually looking forward to this 4 hours pay-per-view.
Yeah, man. Me too. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have just reached the end of our Raw coverage, but don't go anywhere because we're about to get into what I would say.
Sit your ass down!
I am sitting. Oh, you're talking about the viewers. Yes, please, escúchame him and put your derrieres on the floor. How's my Samoan there?
Better. Keep going.
Better? All right. Thank you, Rosetta Stone. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our favorite segment, which is called The Good, the Bad, and the Fugly. And it's aptly named because it's the segment that follows our Raw coverage each and every week where we basically talk about 3 segments in particular. What we individually thought was the best segment, something that was really, really good, something that was bad, kind of middle of the road, not good, and something that was fugly. Fucking ugly, terrible, awful, whatever you want to call it. Now, Papo, normally this is an easy segment for me, right? Because normally I can pick apart Raw pretty easily. This Raw was probably one of the better Raws I've seen in the past couple of months. Very few things that I don't like here. So I'm clueless, right? Like I haven't yet made up my mind. What I'd like you to do is why don't you go ahead and tell the people your thoughts and give them your good, the bad, and the fugly, and then Vince is calling. Vince?
Dude, use your secretary.
No, right? I'm going to go ahead and mute my mic. Why don't you go ahead and give your good, bad, and the fugly, and I'll take this call from Vince.
Gotcha. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my good, the bad, and fugly. I would say my good was that John Cena and Seth Rollins match. Again, anytime these two get in the ring, it is amazing. They put on an excellent show and no miss spots. I mean, I'm really not a John Cena fan, but then him and Seth Rollins again have amazing chemistry. My bad was the Lucha Dragons versus the El Matadores match. I mean, it was just so drab. I actually look forward to the commentary from the primetime players because they were more entertaining than the match. My fugly, I would have to say, was Miz on commentary during the Big Show and Dean Ambrose match because he just was like so. You know what? They shouldn't even have brought him out there to begin with. So, Miz, do us all a favor and run into a brick wall several times.
Stop it. Did you just have the testicular fortitude to dare say that Miz is not awesome?
For that match, yes.
So that was it, right? That was your good, your bad, and the fugly, right? Like your bad was the primetime players. Or the bad was the Lucha Dragons match, and the fugly was Miz on commentary for that opening match, right?
Right.
This is tough.
Okay, it's surprising there was no divas on my fugly or bad.
Now you had you're good. That was the Cena Rollins match. Was that your good? That which was you chose?
Yes.
All right. Damn, this is really tough. It's kind of a 50-50. It's almost a 50. It's 60-40. We'll go 60-40. 40% of me wants to go with that Rusev and Hot Summer angle, right, where he calls Lana a cold fish. Damn, that comes close. But I'm going to give my good to that Sasha Banks match because I'm a big, big, big Sasha Banks fan, and she is the best like a boss. My bad. This is also tough because for a 3-hour Raw, right? This is about as close to perfect you're going to get, in my opinion, right? I mean, it would be perfect if they went back to 2 hours, but 3 hours is different. My bad here. Jeez. Okay, I got it. My bad is the WWE not understanding what they have in the network and not making that NXT Q&A panel, not having that air live. Taking tweets from viewers at home to make it a little bit more interactive. My fugly, I had to think about awfully hard about this. At the that Divas tag match, when Becky Lynch won with that wicked looking armbar, I've seen it done a number of times on NXT, and I haven't yet heard it referred to as the disarmer. So that's going to be my fugly. My fugly being that Michael Cole gives awful names to finishers. Like, you remember when Seth Rollins was like debuting the curb stomp and Michael Cole was calling it a piece of mind or something terrible like that? Like he should just not do that. Like he should just say, he should just pull that old Vince McMahon on commentary. What a maneuver, right? Like don't make up names for it. That's awful. Papo, if I'm not mistaken, I think we covered it all.
Yes, we have.
So what I'd like to do is quickly run through our plugs, and then I'll let you go, and then I'll go, and then we'll get the fuck out of here. Deal?
Deal.
All right. So to cover what we just did, we gave, at the top of the show, we gave a quick recap of Battleground. We talked about Raw segment by segment, right? We told you about our good, the bad, the fugly. So a couple of quick plugs before we get out of here. Again, if at any point of the show that you find it interesting, I'll tell you what, if you didn't hate this video, click the like button. And while you're at it, if you've got the energy, if you have it within you, go ahead and click the subscribe button. It helps us out. I mean, it helps us out because we get more subscribers, and it helps out with YouTube metrics, but it also helps you out. because maybe you're not always at the computer whenever we have this show up, right? So if you subscribe, you'll get an email notifying you when the next video is up, and then you can go ahead and watch it. Also, go ahead and comment in the comment box down below. I know that's like redundant, and not only redundant, but it's also redundant. See what I did there? Puns.
Redundant.
Comment the comment box below, right? So if you liked it, tell us you liked it. If you hated it, tell us you hated it. Tell us about your favorite part of Raw, your least favorite part of Raw, what you're looking forward to going into SummerSlam. And tell us what you thought about this video. You know what? Here's an idea. Tell us any areas that you can think we can improve, or give me a suggestion for what alcohol I should be drinking next week. While you're at it, go ahead and go to the Facebook page, become a part of the discussion. Show me how to use Twitter. Tweet us at Ted and Papo on Twitter. Send us your questions at tedandpapo@gmail.com. So maybe you say, hey, Ted and Papo, what's your favorite SummerSlam match? Because we're keeping it topical, and SummerSlam's right around the corner. Also, if you're interested and if you want to contribute and help us with our cause, help two guys with kids that are kind of, don't have a plethora of pesos, extra pesos, disposable pesos laying around. And if you want to contribute, you can go ahead and do so. Go to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/TedandPapo. Help us purchase such items as a mixer, a couple of microphones, a couple of cameras. Help us out, and then we'll pay it forward to anyone and everyone that donates, even if it's as little as $1. Papo, did I get all my high spots in? Did I get my shit in?
You got your shit in.
All right, I got my shit in. Before I go, Papo, go ahead and get your shit in. Play the hits.
Thank you for watching. Tune in next week to the same Ted and Papo channel, same Ted and Papo time. Peace.
Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy, and we'll see you again next week. Peace, bitches.